Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So in this video we're going to learn about Docker containers. So this is my video number 2 of Docker learning series. So if you haven't seen my video number 1, please go and check it out. So I'll attach it to the cards and you should be able to find it. Like if you ask any company what is the biggest problem that they have, at least like one of the top 3 problems would be environment issues. So environment issues. So this is a big problem plaguing like a lot of companies, a lot of Fortune 500 companies, any company. So this is the main reason for reduced productivity in companies. So reduced productivity, right? So now how Docker containers are basically solving this problem, that's what we're going to learn in this video. So let's jump straight into an example. So let's say we have a developer, right? So he's a developer and he's going to work on a new feature, right? Some feature. And this feature is going to be written in Python language. If I can spell Python language, and he's going to use Python version 3.8, and then this code is basically going to call some APIs, and for that he needs a Python package or library called requests. So he needs requests package, right? So using this package he'll call some APIs, and this could be anything like a weather API or whatever, right, for his company, right? So this is what he needs. So what he does is, like, he'll let's say this is his laptop, some buttons, right? So on his laptop he'll go and install Python 3.8, and then he'll install the request package, and then he will write the code, right? And then he'll basically push changes to Git repo, so he'll just push the changes to Git repo, and basically he'll call it done, right? So he's done. So he's gonna write the code and test it, and then push the changes to Git. So now, to him basically the development process is done, right? Now when this change, right, let's say we have like a DevOps engineer. Now we have a DevOps engineer. He's gonna refresh an environment. So there is a test environment, let's say, like we call it test 1 or whatever. So this guy, he's going to provision a VM as usual, and then he's going to refresh the code that's on this VM. So this is the application VM, right? Application VM or mission or whatever you call it. So he's going to actually, like as usual, he's going to provision this VM, and he's going to basically trigger whatever pipeline, or maybe the pipeline gets automatically triggered after the developer has pushed the code. The pipeline gets triggered and it deploys the Python code that he has written on this machine. So let's say this is the Python code, right? So now an important thing to consider is, like, this VM previously had, or it currently has Python, let's say 2.6, right? And then it does not have the request package, right? So this is the configuration on this VM. So, and then this pipeline has deployed his code here, but that's just the code, right? With all these dependencies are not are not deployed. They don't exist on this VM. Now when somebody comes and tests this feature, right, let's say there's a website which calls this code, like a front end which calls this code, and basically someone's like looking at how this feature is working, and then it fails. Like basically the feature is not working, right? So this is the biggest problem, because on his laptop, on the developer's laptop, everything worked on this environment, a test environment, or even worse, a prod environment, right? This feature will probably not work because of this incorrect configuration, right? Maybe the developer has documented the prerequisite in some Confluence page somewhere, but then this DevOps engineer is not aware of it, or maybe missed it. Basically, like, he missed to update this configuration, right? So this problem is essentially what Docker containers are solving, actually. So what else can we do? What is an alternative, right? So let's say now, instead of doing all these things, so the developer, like, as soon as he is done writing the code for this feature, right? Code for feature, right? So once he is done, he can closely work with the DevOps engineer. So he can work with the operations engineer, and then he can, like, once this code is written and tested, the code is now ready. So instead of just pushing it to a repo, what he could do is, well, he could do that, but what he could do is they can create a Docker image, right? So how does he do that, right? So to create a Docker image, first thing that he needs to do is create a file called Dockerfile. So this is basically how the Dockerfile looks. So the developer basically puts the instructions for creating an image in the Dockerfile. So in the Dockerfile, he might say that, okay, so now I need the base image to be Python 3.8. So base image is basically, it could come from Docker Hub. It could come from Docker Hub, and then this is basically Python 3.8 installed on Alpine Linux operating system, right? So but it's got Python 3.8, and not just that, he'll say, okay, I want the working directory to be this, and I want the request package to be installed inside this container, and I want my package to be copied from whichever location that the operations engineer gives you to this application directory, right? So these are the instructions that will be in Dockerfile. Okay, once the Dockerfile is ready, all they have to do is basically, like, build, like, they'll just run a docker build command, which will maybe, like, they'll give a name called app image or something like that, some version, let's say version 13. So they'll run the docker build command that will generate the image, and then now this image can be pushed to a private repository, right? So this could be like a Docker Hub private repository, right? So now the image has all the instructions to create a container, right? So when a new environment needs to be created, let's say a test environment needs to be created, so as soon as the changes are checked into a Git repo, so the changes are coming in from the developers, it will trigger a pipeline. The pipeline will just create a container using docker run whatever, right? So it will just create a container using this docker run command. Now we have a container running on this VM. So the container will contain the proper Python version, Python 3.8 version, and then it will also contain the request package, and and obviously the code, right? So it also copies the code inside, so it will be there. So now no matter which environment it is, like it, you know, if I do the same thing in prod, I will be just creating the container based on the image, right? And the image comes from the Docker Hub private repo, and the container will always be the same. Like the way the container looks and behaves will always be the same. When somebody tests this feature or uses this feature in that environment, it will basically work, right? So this is how Docker containers basically eliminate this environment issues problem. Okay, that's all I wanted to show today, and thanks for watching my video. And if you want me to answer any specific questions, please leave the question in the comment section, and if you want me to cover any topic, just leave it as a comment. And please share, subscribe, and like my videos, and I'll see you in my next video. And there will be a bunch of videos on Docker, so do not miss it. See you next time.